Welcome to this week's edition of the Old Parachute Podcast. But before we get started, I want to tell you about our new sponsors, Veterans for Veterans. If you served after 1987 and your hearing's taken a knock from your time in the forces, these are the people to speak to. They've helped thousands of veterans like us claim compensation for tinnitus and hearing loss. They're ex-military themselves, so they genuinely get it.
It's free to check if you qualify, and the claims are no win, no fee. To get started, click the link in this video or visit veteransforveterans.co.uk.
Welcome to another episode of the Old Parachute Podcast. Today's guest, former Parachute Regiment Sergeant Major, turned Beefeater at the Tower of London, Lee Fox. How you doing, Lee?
Oh, not too bad, Chris, yourself?
Yeah, really good, mate. Thanks for coming on. I know, obviously, your new role sounds kind of busy and enjoyable. We'll come on to it, but thanks for taking the time to jump on and doing a podcast. Your first podcast, I believe?
It is with yourself. So I have done one before, but it's been a darts podcast. Absolutely nothing to do with this or my career or anything like that. So, yeah, massively brand new.
Happy days, happy days. Well, we'll get stuck into your fascinating career. What I like to do, start at the beginning, where you grew up, and ultimately what led you down the path into the military and beyond. Yeah, so over to you. Where are you actually from, Foxy?
I'm a Grimsby lad, brought up in a council estate in Grimsby.
Right, okay. Up north?
Up north. Well, some people favour up north that would not call us north, that's for sure. But yeah, we certainly call it the north.
It's north from me. It's far north from me. It's a good couple of hours north from me. So what was your kind of route in? Did you have family members in Para-Reg, or was it just first of a kind sort of thing?
So I actually never knew about a family member in the Parachute Regiment until I was already in. So I knew I wanted to join the army as such from the age of 3. I remember visiting my uncle in Knightsbridge and another uncle of mine down in Lympstone. One of my uncles was in the lifeguards, really mega going down to watch him on the horseback and all the regalia that they had on. It was pretty cool. And then all the parades that they got to do, it was mega. And then I went to Lympstone to see my uncle. He was in 4-5 Commando. I remember him going through literally from the age of 3, and I knew from then that it was going to be a military background. Like, that's all I wanted all the way through school. I knew it. Got massively bullied at school. I was quite small. I was a small kid at school. Got bullied both mentally and physically. And but I was into my phys as well. Never really played football or anything like that, but I was into my cross country, my running. I was always quite a fit kid growing up, so I sort of stayed out of trouble that way by running, which massively helped me when I finally made that jump into depot.
What did your uncle kind of have to say about going down the Para? I'm assuming he wanted you to go in the Marines.
He did, yeah. I remember he took me to Lincoln, and we went to the careers office in Lincoln, and it was shut. So went next door and joined the Paras.
Everyone's always got a story about how they ended up in the Paras. It's never dead cut and dried. There are a few people that kind of go that route and they know that they're going to do it from day one. But I was a bit like, never knew what I was going to join until the almost 24 hours before I joined. So, right decision?
Oh, 100%. I wouldn't change a thing like that. I absolutely love the Reg. I love my time in there. It sort of shapes you as a human being as well, doesn't it? But I was meant to join Harrogate. And then my grandparents had booked us a holiday to Florida on September the 15th. I'll never ever forget it. And then obviously, so I chin sort of Harrogate off. Was due to go on holiday, and then obviously 9/11 happened, like 4 days before we were meant to fly. So obviously everything got shit canned. And then, well, that's swearing.
Yeah, of course you are, yeah.
Thought I'd ask. And then that obviously got shit canned. And then I just went straight to, I remember I was on an apprenticeship, like window making company or something like that, just trying to earn a bit of cash while I was sort of waiting out, and just went straight to the careers office after that. Obviously ended up going Para-Reg depot straight just because of that. So I didn't want to wait out for Harrogate. I wanted to just go straight in, and I'm so glad I did. So glad I did.
Yeah, I hear mixed reviews. I know a few people that went to Harrogate and they was a bit disheartened by it because it's not what they expected. Obviously, 17 when you joined, similar age for me. It's hard at 17, isn't it? And I always bring this part up about depot. Depot's hard regardless, whoever you are. But for a 17-year-old, it's hard on the body, isn't it?
It is. It really is, especially when you're still growing. You're not fully grown yet. You're not an adult or anything like that. But when you look at the people around you, and then it was a little bit different then as well. I think the oldest age you could be was sort of 26, so it wasn't too many million miles apart. I know, obviously, we'll probably talk about that later on, but when I went back to depot, you sort of had 34, 35-year-olds. So the difference in age was absolutely huge, and the difference in maturity, whereas at least then it was not as big a gap. So you look around, and it was absolutely normal to be 17 there. There was quite a lot of us, and we were all going through it. Bear in mind, it's not a Harrogate platoon either, so it was, yeah, it was a real eye opener. I didn't really know what I was walking into. Obviously, walking into Catterick, because I think we were the third platoon to go all the way through Catterick, so we never actually did Lichfield.
Yeah.
And I remember walking through with an ironing board, as everyone does, and just thinking, what the fuck have I done?
Scary, isn't it? Then
Yeah.
the first few days are, I always say that nervous gut feeling about rocking up, the fear of the unknown. And like, people have mixed reviews about depot. How did you find it? Did you, because some people generally go, well, I didn't find it that odd. You know, the odd weirdo that you've probably met in battalion, that were like, oh, I love depot. And I'm like, well, how? Which part?
Yeah, I did struggle. I wrote my letter about 4 or 5 times because I was under 18, exactly the same as yourself. We used to get an allocation of a pint of milk every night. So
Right.
the students used to send me to get the milk, and obviously give it to them. I didn't get the fucking milk, that's for sure. Like, obviously that was their brew kit for the day squared. But yeah, it was, fitness wise, I genuinely never panicked about any fitness whatsoever. But this is how solid I was. Bearing in mind I got best end ever, so that probably explains a lot more as well.
Biff Award.
Yeah, I got best, yeah. But like, I didn't even know we jumped out of planes. Didn't have a fucking Scooby. The Parachute Regiment, you'd think surely that should click straight away. Nah, it did not click whatsoever. I remember walking down the corridor and reading about P Company, and I'm like, oh, fair one, that looks pretty fucking nails, that. And then someone saying, yeah, we've got that in a few, well, obviously week 19, I think it was then. And I'm like, what? Just no clue whatsoever. Like, just went in and wanted to join something where fitness would be a key, and that was it, really.
That's what I don't think people like fully understand. They'll go, oh, all you do different is P Company and your jumps, and you're like, meh. From day one. And I get a lot of criticism about this from different years. I have ultimate respect for anyone that's joined the armed forces. You know, as you mature and as you get older, and I've worked with lots of units, I have a respect for all units because we're all different. But I'll always say what sets Power Edge different is from day one, the basic training's different. The whole training, the mentality when you're pushing through, it's drilled into you. And it is. And I was a bit the same, like I say, when I joined, I was going to go in the Worcestershire Foresters. And then 24 hours before, my best mate Gaz, that you may have come across in the past, I'll talk about him after, but he was like, let's join this thing called the Paras. Like you, no idea what P Company was or anything like that. And it's suddenly, when you get there, it's dawning on you, isn't it?
Yeah, really is. It's like, that sounds good, I'm in. It's just as simple as that, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I guess having someone to go through with as well is a massive help. Like, obviously, I rocked up, didn't know a single person, but you sort of bond under that. What is it? It's like the Stockholm syndrome type, isn't it? You get an absolutely smashed day in, day out, and you bond under it, and you become brothers. I'm still in touch with the majority of my platoon now, whether they've made it or not. We've still got a WhatsApp group. We still sort of try and keep up to date with each other and follow each other's careers, whatever that career might look like now. And it's pretty cool. You never ever forget your DS and who you went through depot with. Like, it's just absolutely. It is mad. It is. I can't think of the way to put my finger on it, but it's just like, it's brilliant, but shit at the same time. It's like a mixture. You sort of come together, but it forges you. Like I said, we were boys. We were boys when we went in, and you sort of. Well, I don't think I've fully grown up. I don't think I'm fully grown up now.
Yeah.
But it definitely brings you down a peg or two, and then obviously strips you right back to the bare bones, and then adds the meat to the bones and brings you up. And it wasn't until I went back as a screw where I really realised how influential that is. Obviously, I'll never ever forget my screwing depot. I had two. Ian Broad from Free Para, mega bloke, and Andy Brayshaw. I sort of went to his section towards the end, and again, fucking both of them unbelievable soldiers, absolutely unbelievable soldiers. And I always looked at them and thought, one day I want to be where you are now. And that was my sort of goal, to come back and be a screw at depot. That was just an epic, absolute epic.
Yeah, and I get you. And I think what people, I've talked about this quite a lot, but For a lot of young lads coming into Deborah, that might be the first strong male role model that they may have had in their life. You know, Power Reg draw from all sorts of life. Usually it's a troubled background. There's usually a case of bullying, violence, or it's like prison or the military, along them lines. A lot of broken families and stuff like that. So yeah, it seems to be the kind of usual reprobates, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, like you say, everyone else sort of draws from certain geography, sort of demographics, whereas we're just completely out there, all over the UK and the Commonwealth as well. We had a couple of South Africans come from our platoon as well. We had a couple of Fijians, just all reprobates together, and you sort of get that sort of shared sense of purpose, where it takes you good 5-6 weeks before you actually realise that actually you're not in it for yourself, you're in it for each other. And the sooner you realise that, I think the better and the easier of a time you're going to have.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And it's like I say, it's a weird one because it's a fond memories and nightmares at the same time. You know, to go back and do it again now, I'd be like, I don't know about that. But at the same time, it shapes you as a human, and I still draw on those experiences as a 17, 18-year-old. When I come unstuck in life or I'm faced with a problem, I kind of almost inadvertently look back and go, well, what would that version of myself do? Because you've got, you know, you don't realize at the time, but you've got a drive to be one of them remaining ones at the end. Make no bones about it. I did P Company 3 times, but to get through in the end and wear that maroon beret is just it's like a rite of passage, isn't it?
Yeah, massively. And I'll tell you what, fair play. I genuinely doff my cap to you. For anyone that does P Company more than once, and this is what I used to say again. Come on to it later on, but the people that failed and came back to do it again, they're the people we want. They're the people we want in a regiment, because it's that resilience. It's that if anyone proves that, it's them. It's all right if you go through P Company plain sailing and you don't really find it hard, then I'd probably argue you're not really gone through it as much as those guys. And that's one thing I used to always say to people that failed. I'd stand there and I'd say, look, some of the best guys I've ever met in my life, some of the fittest, some of the best soldiers failed P Company. They failed selection. They failed this, but I tell you what, they went back and they did it again. And if you want it hard enough, you'll get it. You'll absolutely get it. And now, honestly, anyone that's failed and comes back and does it again, they have my fucking utmost respect. Because I don't know
Yeah.
whether I would have had the resilience to have come back and done that.
It is a weird one, and I used to almost like be ashamed to tell people because it was a little bit of a thing. But now I'm older, I'm say wiser. I'm definitely older, but I don't know about wiser. But I look back and I kind of, you know, I'm immensely proud that I stuck at it and got it. And I've encountered quite a few people that did it 1 or 2 times, and we have the same sort of opinion. But so moving forward, P Company first time, passed through depot. Any real issues going through training in depot, or pretty much? I know you say struggle, but
yeah, I had my DAOR letter out. I'll never ever forget my mum had come to pick me up for a weekend, and I'd literally was meant to be going home. I had a show parade, so she had to like wait outside the gates at 10 o'clock for me to fucking pass the show parade and then go through. And of all the things I got picked up for was not shaving, and I was like, I did shave. There was like nothing on me, but it was one of them where they were going to test my resilience either way, and that genuinely broke me that night. Not being able to go home after my mum had travelled down to come and pick us up, and I was a bit of a mummy's boy as well. Like, she'd obviously spoon fed me my whole life, done my washing, done everything, which obviously didn't set me up very well for when I first got to depot. Obviously, you learn a lot of that as you go through, and then yeah, she was outside the gates, and I couldn't even go and tell her that I weren't even allowed to come home. It was like, yeah, that was a bit of a blow. I remember writing my letter that time. That was one of 3 times, and every time I took this letter to my section commander, and he literally just stood there, looked at me, and just ripped it up in front of me and went, "You ain't going anywhere, son. You ain't going anywhere. You need this. You need
tough
this."
love,
He
tough
went,
love.
his exact words were, "You'll thank me in a few years' time. You'll thank me." And I never actually did get the opportunity to see him to thank him. But if he's watching now, honestly, thank you. Like, I genuinely wouldn't be here right now without you.
Yeah, it is, and like I say, it's you always remember them because the words font, you know, encouragement and stuff, and they can see it. You've been there, you went back there again, like you say. We'll come on to it, but you can see the ones that are going to do it and are going to thrive at it, but they just need a little bit of coaching, a bit of, you know, and that's what it is, isn't it?
Yeah, massively. A lot of people sort of, as your platoon goes through, and it's probably the same in every platoon that's ever gone through. You see people leaving for girlfriends, for women, or someone they've only just met, or something like that, and you're just looking, you're like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And now to think I almost left because I got picked up on a show parade is just absolutely madness. because I certainly wouldn't be sat where I am right now if it wasn't. So.
Having the career that you've had as well, you know, looking back and thinking them small decisions in life could have changed your whole sort of viewpoint and everything else. It is bonkers, isn't it? But so yeah, you've gone through depot.
Yeah.
No real, a few waivers in there. I think that's fairly normal to say. I think we all kind of had them wavering points, and you wouldn't be human if you didn't have them. But you've gone through depot, gone straight to one para.
I went to Brize because we did go straight to Brize then. So I went through Brize, quite plain sailing for my first sort of 8 jumps, and then my last jump, I did the ligaments on my ankle, the operational jump, so I had to get held. Well, I got the choice if I could go to battalion without my wings, with the rest of my platoon who all got winged up. And back then there was no such thing as going to battalion without your wings, so I was like. And I don't want to sound like a sweat by keep saying back then or anything like that. It's just the reality of it. In those days, you didn't go to battalion without your wings. And I know that's getting much, much better now. But, or I could stay in Brize and stay there for 3 months while I had my recovery and work as part of, what was it, PCAU back then. And I'll never forget it because Paul Biddis was on the training team and I got to work with him. He was one of the sergeants. And I was like, almost bit their hand off. I was like, I'm staying here. Absolutely. And obviously the food was better, the accommodation was better, which is surprisingly has absolutely not changed in the slightest. It's the same green mattresses, it's the same everything. It's in rag, but it's again, make sure you are. It builds that resilience, doesn't it?
Absolutely, and it is when you go to Brize, for the people that are watching, they won't probably understand it, but when you go from an army camp, especially a depot like Catterick, and then you go to Brize, it's suddenly an eye opener to how the other half live. I joke about the RAF. Got good friends. One of my best mate in the fire service when I just left, Paul. He's ex RAF firefighter, and I give him shit about the lobster and hotel stays and the 5-star accommodation and all that. But it's an eye opener when you get to Brize, and it was the Spotlight nightclub still there then?
It was, yeah. I got my first ever arrest. My first ever arrest was in from an RAF copper as well.
Good effort.
It was still there then. It's not. It's still there now. It's called something else, and it's nowhere near what it used to be like.
Yeah, I can imagine. Times have changed. So when you finally got rehabbed and you got yourself fixed, off to one para, is that right?
Yeah, and it was difficult because I got there on my own, so I didn't go there with the rest platoon. They had already been settled in for 3 months. So when I get there, I'm the brand new bloke on my own, which is, yeah, it's not ideal to say the least when you get in there on your own. It definitely was. Again, resilience absolutely kicks in there, and it made us who I am. But I don't think I was ready for that. I thought I'm going to go there. My mates are there. It's going to be sound. It's not going to be this bad. And yeah, how wrong was I? Like literally, it was tough. But I ended up going to the same section as Andy Brayshaw. So he was finished off with him at depot, and then he'd gone back, finished his tour there, gone back as a section commander in one para at B Company 4 platoon, and I literally joined him in B Company 4 platoon. So I ended up having exactly the same section commander, which was ideal because I sort of felt as if I know a bit about him already, and I knew what he expected, and you just have to keep those high standards up. And again, someone that I really respected. So for me, that was not a comforter, because he definitely wasn't someone you would call comforting, but he was fit, he was robust, he was just like a fucking amazing soldier, and it was just someone that you sort of wanted to model yourself on. And trust me, no matter how hard I tried, I was just I just couldn't get it. I wasn't very gifted in that department. Certainly when I first got there, I was like this big still, and just tried my hardest. I was fit. I could handle the fitness side of it, and even with weight on my back, never struggled. But the soldiering and stuff like that, I had to really work at it. But it's what you do, innit? You haven't really got a choice when you've got that caliber of people around you, left and right. You've got no choice but to up your game.
Oh, absolutely. And like I say, I feel for you turning up there on your own, because again, you have that safety blanket of maybe 10 or 20 of you going and there'll be maybe 2 or 3 of you in the same company, even in the same platoon when you get there. So was there any lads that you rocked up that you went through depot with that you bumped into in your company or platoon, or was you literally on your own?
Yeah, no, in the company, yes. In fact, we had one in the same platoon as well, actually, which helped. But again, already bedded in, already sort of knew the score, which was handy as well, because then he could obviously back brief me and tell me about the characters, who to avoid, who to mark and avoid, who's on side, who's got your back, who hasn't, and all that type of stuff. But again, the more you spend there, the more you all become a unit. And it wasn't long. I mean, I got there in September, October October time. Had my 18th birthday in December. Went on Christmas leave, and then I remember, I think it was New Year's Eve, we got the phone call that we needed to get back, like within the next couple of days, because we were deploying, and obviously we didn't have a clue where. We didn't know what was really going on. There wasn't too much going on. Obviously, you had the Saddam, the weapons of mass destruction, and all that type of stuff. But again, I wasn't really watching the news. I was a paratrooper. It was my first ever Christmas leave. I was going on pace. I was 18 now. I could not have to worry about being ID'd or anything like that. I was just looking forward to a first real bit of leave. I felt like I deserved it. And I was like this big eye army around Grimsby now. I'm like, yeah, I'm a fucking paratrooper. This is that.
Red t-shirt on. Woo.
Yeah, exactly. And then literally just come crashing back down to earth with a bang. And it's like, right, get yourself back here. Your leave's over. And got briefed. We go into Iraq. Looks like the Gulf 2 is kicking off. So we're going to go on exercise for a couple of months in Salisbury Pride in the winter.
Yeah, that will get you ready for it.
And that'll get you ready for it, yeah. No, again, that was probably the hardest. It was my first exercise I'd ever done in battalion, so it was a lot. It was tough, but again, all the people around you, it was professional. It was just really well put together, even though it was quite last minute. Just section attacks up to company attack, up to battalion attack, and it was in the snow, and it was all really good. But it was easy in depot. I know it's easy to like sort of get on with the exercises and believe that there's a bit of a realism in it, but you never really know if you're going to get to put it into practice. And then all of a sudden, within your first couple of months being told, yeah, you're going to Iraq, you're going to be putting all this into practice, it just felt like it meant more. So you put that, if it's possible, to put that extra 10% in, and you have to up game, because you're no longer with a load of recruits. You're with people that have been in battalion for years and years, and you're trying to raise your standards next to theirs, which is, yeah, again, something you're never going to achieve, but you can die trying.
Yeah, well, it's good. You have these people you look up to, and you kind of, you look at and want to model your career. And I always liked the people that were awesome soldiers, but then they'd also be like out on the lash as well, because you had you always tried to be one of them. Drink hard, get on a 10-miler, and then smash it, still hanging out, and stuff like that. That was a weird thing as a young sort of teenager that you used to look up to. But yeah, so how was Telic 1?
It was an eye opener. I remember going to Q8, and obviously it was just tent city there. Obviously trying to adjust to that temperature from Salisbury and Otterburn, that was rather different. And getting used to that, and then your anthrax jabs. I just remember being in a queue, not having a clue what I was even queuing up for, some sort of med thing, and then all of a sudden you're getting an anthrax jabbed into your arm, and then being written off for 24 hours. Being told, right, you're not allowed to do any fizz for 24 hours, this, that, and the other. Obviously, someone never told the section commanders that, because we were fucking out doing fizz pretty much the next morning. But again, it built you. It made you. It shaped you as a platoon, as a section, and you got that real close knit section. I think we parachuted in NBC kit as well. And at one point, we were talking about parachuting with cannulas in our arms, because there was rumours that we were going to parachute in, and a complete contrast to the heli Bedfords that we actually did cross the border in and stuff like that. But it was certainly an eye opener. I've got nothing to compare it to, because I genuinely never knew what to expect. Again, the battalions, they'd done Kosovo, Sierra Leone, Northern Ireland, but they'd not done anything on sort of that scale before, with that many people going. I think your Kosovos and your Sierra Leones, that was just like a battalion plus battle group, whereas this was like fucking brigade battle groups on brigade battle groups, and it was just like, Jesus, this is the real deal. And then you got to see snippets in Q8 of Sky News, and like the Scud missiles getting gassed every time. I remember going to a Portaloo, and I was sat in a Portaloo, and I didn't take my respirator with me. I'd left it by my bed because it was quite early doors, and I thought, I'll risk it for a biscuit, it'll be absolutely sound. Takes my weapon across, sat in there, and obviously the sirens are going off, and all you hear is gas, and I'm like, shit. And this is how scared I was to get caught. I just sat in there and waited it out for a couple of hours. I thought, if this is real, I'm gone, but there's no way I'm going out there and getting caught without my fucking respirator, because the consequences will be far worse than death. That's just how you look at it. You're like, I'm not going out there. I'm just gonna sit here and reg it out.
Yeah, fair one. I know what you mean. But I was on about this. Yeah, I think I've just been to a benevolent dinner for remembrance and stuff, and I was chatting to some lads there. We were on about that sinking feeling when you forget a bit of kit or you've misplaced. We've all done it. We've all done. I misplaced a CWS when I was in Northern Ireland, not on the ground, but in my room, and that sinking feeling of like, what have I done with it? I am gonna get literally kangaroo caught and then babooned or something like that, you know. So, no, I feel your pain, but yeah. So it was there anything any points in it where you thought, because I was out there on the CP circuit then doing bits and bobs as it was. Well, no, actually, it was a bit late after the conflict had finished. But I don't know much about the first Telic tour other than I know there was some skirmishes and stuff like that. But was there any heavy fighting as such?
Not heavy, and I say not heavy, but that's compared to sort of Herrick. So there was a few skirmishes. That's probably the best way of putting it. And I know C Company 1 Para had a bit of a ding dong, and that was quite tasty by all accounts. And we had a little bit round about Chemical Ali's house on Alamara, because we set up Alamara, which ended up becoming massive. And I'll never forget that. The football pitch and the stadium in Alamara and the Chinooks landing on and stuff like that, and then going out to sort of establish this base, which was mad. And even the PT around there, and the 12-hour stag sessions where there was 12 positions and you do an hour in each going round, and it was just like monotonous, really monotonous. So the stag was definitely something that you didn't want to be stuck on. It was all about QRF or patrols. That's what you wanted to be on, which is what you want to do anyway, isn't it? And nah, little bit in there, but nothing to write home about, nothing too bad. So it was pretty benign. I would never have said that at the time, but compared to later operations, then yeah, completely nothing even compared. Like it was absolutely mad. But it was a great tour to go on. But I think, as you said before, the thing that really sticks out in my mind, I remember we went through a place called Al Dair, and it was meant to be a Saddam strong point, with his sort of shock troops were meant to be holding it. And we went on a battalion attack through it. And for some reason, I don't know how this maths even worked out, but it was B Company 4 platoon at the point of this arrowhead. And I was the point man in one section with an LSW, a 94mm Laura, about 4 mortar bombs in my back with 800 link, plus my rations and my water and my warm kit. And I remember being in an arrowhead formation, point man, thinking, my ass was 5 pence, 50 pence. I did not have a clue what was going on. It was just like, oh, please. And I remember walking across this open ground thinking, please don't, please don't. Please, because I'd never been in contact at that stage. So it was like really, really fucking scary. And you're doing an advanced to contact through. And you're like, I've done loads of advanced to contacts, loads, but it's been in like Catterick training area, Salisbury, Otterburn and places like that where you're never actually getting shot at. It's just blank rounds or someone simulating fire and you're like, this is fucking real. And you sort of had to grow up really quickly. And yeah, that was, even though nothing happened there, I think that's the most I've felt alive, and the adrenaline kicks in, and it's just like after that you're like, that was a rush. That was a complete rush. Once obviously all of it's calmed down, and you're thinking about it, and you're like, that's an absolute rush.
But it is. It's like you're putting into practice what you've just spent probably up until that point, maybe 3 or 4 years putting into practice, drills, exercises, all that kind of stuff. You get a bit blasé on an exercise, when you're on stag and you're piss wet through, you're thinking, but suddenly it's real then. It is a real thing. Everything you've ever done up until that point, you're putting into practice for real. And I can imagine as a young, so what would you have been then? About 19, 20?
I was 18.
He was 18. He was 18. So yes,
in December. So I was one of the youngest out there. I'd only just turned 18 in December, and then we deployed in the sort of February, March.
Wow.
So it was, so I'd not even been in the army for a year yet. It was just mad. So it was like, but I do definitely remember thinking, like, I'm not bothered about letting myself down. It's the geezer to your left and the geezer to your right and those behind you. You don't want to let any of them down. That's the biggest thing. I thought, I don't want to be the weak link here. That's my biggest thing. Like, one thing that I've gone through life with, and it still sticks with me now, and it still sticks with me, is the fear of failure. And that's why I've always been really fit to a really good level, but I never backed myself. I never went for selection. I never went for this, and I don't regret not having a go. But it's that fear of failure that always sort of held me back a little bit, and that's something that I've had to struggle with my whole life. And I think you probably speak to 9 out of 10 paratroopers, and they'll tell you the same thing.
Well, absolutely. That comes into that account, whichever part you're in your career. Imposter syndrome is a real thing,
That's
where
it.
you're suddenly stood there thinking, "Do I deserve to be here, stood with these people left and right of me, like these amazing paratroopers?" And I talked about it quite recently with one of the guests that went on from Power Edge to 2-2, and just that fear of going on selection, and because you probably saw it as well, the amount of absolutely phenomenal soldiers, unbelievable soldiers that came back off selection, and you were like, for me personally, I'd look at him and go, well, if he's come off on the hills, I don't stand an absolute chance.
Yeah.
And that was one of the factors that put me
Yeah.
off back then. It was like, if they can't do it, I'll never do it.
Yeah.
And it is that, isn't it? It is, but it's that fear of failure. So I fully grasp what you're saying there. Yeah, definitely a kind of a thing that you go through. So that tour's passed, like you say, a great tour for learning your craft.
Yeah,
You know, the threat's there, but not a lot major has happened as regards to contacts and stuff like the later tours that we know, Herrick and all that kind of stuff. So you've come back, you know, you're settling in battalion, and then am I right in thinking you were probably on a build up for probably one of the last Northern Ireland tours? Is that right?
I think it was the last Power Edge Northern Ireland tour, 2005. That would have been the last stop banner, certainly for the regiment. And went out there, and again, all I ever remember is the section commanders, like Danny Campbell and people like that, and saying that this is our bread and butter. This is our fucking bread and butter. This is us. This is what we do. And I remember going through Tin City and everything like that, and it was like no other exercise you'd ever been on. Bearing in mind you've got that experience of Iraq, and it's like, right, fucking forget that. This is back to basics now. We're harbour areas. We're back into this. We're doing this. We're patrolling and the intense CTRs and stuff like that, and the wreckers. Ambush, all that type of stuff, and it was a lot. It was genuinely a lot. But again, you'd already learned it all, but you've sort of forgotten that for a bit because you've gone off on this op and you've done different bits and then a bit of leave after, and it's like, right, fucking wake up, let's go. We're back to basics. This is our bread and butter. This is what we're going to do. Rough out to Northern Ireland. This is ECM. This is what we're doing with that, and it's just like, wow, and all these different locations that we're going to be on. And I just remember getting really excited, and I got put in a tower for 3 months. It was shit.
Yeah, I remember the towers.
Yeah.
God, they were good in a way because you were left alone in your own little mortar, weren't you?
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, and you could do your fizz and everything else. But yeah, most of the time they were clouded in mist, so you sit there in this tower on a hill, would see nothing.
Nothing. No, that was it. And I remember that. And but I spent a good 2 months up there on 12 on, 12 off as well. And I remember going on R&R. You went on R&R as a multiple. And I remember saying to the missus at the time, like, I was like, oh, I've got 2 weeks leave. We're all coming home in these dates. And then all the lads are like, because again, I would only been 20. And all the lads are like, oh yeah, we're going to Tenerife and that. And I'm like, well, I want to come. So I had to make up this story that I'd had an ND and I'd lost 800 quid in my wages. And I lost a week's leave. So there was no social media back then. So I went to Tenerife with the lads for a week. It was mega. Still don't know. Well, she will now.
She will now. It's out there now. You can't do it about it. Yeah, that's good. But that was the beauty. That again, go back I am glad there was no social media knocking around when I was a young sort of Tom in battalion, because one, I'd have been shot by now, or I'd have been certainly been sacked along with majority of the rest of the blokes.
That's it.
But no. I remember the Northern Ireland tours, and for me, that, like you said about Iraq, for me the Northern Ireland tours, because I did 3 of them when I was in work, were what made me a better soldier. The patrolling skills, your navigation skills, getting dropped off most of the time in the wrong position and then having to find where you are navigationally. So they were great for soldiering, weren't they, them tours?
Yeah, massively. There was no alley GPSs or anything like that. So you just put on your wrist and just have a look at there and say, right, this is where we are. You had to properly do your like intersections, resections and stuff, and you're like, I have no clue. I have absolutely no clue. But again, like you said, it just makes sure you don't get complacent. You've got to, again, looking around you, and you're like, although we've got that experience, I'm still a massive crow, an absolute crow bag compared to the rest of the lads out there. And like a sponge, you're sort of taking in all this information off them. And I was happily to go around and play them on, but I was genuinely getting that information off them, because it just makes you not only a better person but a better soldier. And that for me was all I ever wanted to be, is just be a good soldier.
It's a phenomenal learning curve, and people probably won't get this. A lot of veterans that or serve in military will see this and sort of relate. But for a lot of people, the learning curve and the pressure that you're under, especially in the parachute battalions, is immense as a young Tom, isn't it?
It really is. It really is, and it's like I said. I know I've said this and harped on about it, but you're looking around you in a 360 view, and it doesn't matter who's there. You're like, they've all been through what you've been through. They've got the same scars. Some of them are way more experienced, so they've got added bits, and it's just trying to get that experience and pull it in, because you don't know it at the time, but you click your fingers, and then all of a sudden it's you. You're the guy that people are looking to, and you're like, how the fuck did that happen? Like, I shouldn't be here. And then you get that imposter syndrome that we were talking about. So it's like, shit, I've got to up my game here, and quickly, because you get it. You go on the carders, loads of the lads piss off to specialist companies and platoons, and then before you know it, you're like one of the senior Toms, and you're like, Jesus, like,
How did this happen?
I've only been here 3-4 years, and you're like, what? And then obviously you start climbing the ranks, and you do drill and duties and stuff like that, and it's just like, and that's your first real look at other units.
Yeah,
and that's where other units start coming into play, and you're obviously sort of, it's ingrained into your mind, you're the best, you are the best of this, you are the best of that. You go on any course, and the pressure that people put on you, which makes your self-induced pressure, because that's what it all is, it's all self-induced pressure, to finish in that top third, or to finish it with a distinction, or an A, or whatever it is these days. I know it's completely changed now, but like HC or whatever, you've got to be in that top third, because that's what you've been told all your forefathers did. So you don't want to be the one that lets it down, so you've got to really go out there and give it everything. And it's that self-induced pressure. So when, even on the drill, we're doing drill on drill and duties, I'll never forget, I got into shit a couple of times on that. I remember one of the, he was called Sergeant Jones. He was a Welsh guard, big fucking Welsh guards that spat everywhere when he fucking spoke to you. And this would have been about 2005, back end of 2005, and was on drill and duties. And I remember he pulled out for the first time. We'd done a bit of drill, and he went, right, Parachute Regiment, out you come. And we're obviously all there, twos, trousers, shirts, fucking all looking smart, good to go, berets on. And he's like, right, by the left, slow march. And we'd obviously never known what the slow march was before, so we all just did give it the old, just slowed it down. Everyone's just in stitches laughing at us. And I remember just being made to go to the bush, put my head in at mark time, saying, I'm a monk, I'm a monk. And it's just like memories like that just sort of live on forever. But because you weren't good at something, you worked harder at it. Because you didn't want to be looking like the idiots. So actually, on the drill side of the course, I think the Para-Reg lads actually did really well out of it, because they put more into it. They genuinely invested, whereas some of the guards or whatever would have got complacent. Don't get me wrong, some of them were fucking absolutely brilliant, but we really had to wait for it to sort of be up there on that level, and that's what we do. We adapt, we change, because we don't want to let the geezer to your left or right down, and most importantly, you don't want to let the regiment down.
Yeah, absolutely. And there is that when you go on course. So I remember coming back from drill and duties with a B, and I was a bit like gutted because it wasn't a distinction, and blokes went there to get strong Bs or distinction. So I come back with just a run of the mill B, which is a good grade, but it was just a bit like, oh, well, yeah, you're not going to get made up for the next few months, and because you didn't get a distinction. I was like, oh, right, okay. And that's that level, isn't it? But I can still recite a drill TP in my head now.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Word for word. I swear to God, it's ingrained into you, isn't it? But no, it's like I say, fond memories, but hard memories as well. And all them career I mean, I only did drill and duties. I never progressed any further than that. I got out and stuff, but it is what it is. But yeah, you definitely first introduction to different units and stuff, and striving to prove yourself there. So so this is early days of SFSG, isn't it? Like they were in the early formation.
We'd not even been given it then, and we're out in Northern Ireland, and then I remember being pulled in. We came back, we did a bit of time in Newton Hamilton. This is where we actually got to do some of the patrols. We're out on the ground and not just stuck up in that fucking tower doing 12 on, 12 off. So that was when you started thinking, well, it's a bit more interesting now. You're doing your patrols, you've got your sort of ECM bubble and going through your checks and sort of nav checks, Eagle VCPs and all that. And then we got pulled into Besbrook Mill and into the lecture theatre, but no one told us why. And we're like, oh, fuck, obviously, normal thing. Anxiety kicks in, and you're like, what have we done? We fucked up somehow. This is not good. No good's going to come of this. This is not going to be like, oh, there you go, lads. You fancy an extra week's leave or whatever? Something's definitely happened. And we're like, fuck, who's done it? We came in, and then Dave Lee comes in. I don't know if he was a QM at the time. and he's obviously a Falklands veteran, a well-respected, well-known Falklands veteran comes in and he starts talking to us about death. We're like, the fuck's going on here? And then it transpires we're going out on an op. We're literally leaving Northern Ireland. We're flying to Pontralis, do a bit of exercise, and then we're going out to Baghdad. And I'm like, right, fucking jackpot. We've just been spent 2 months in a fucking tower, and now we're going to Baghdad, and we're learning how to fast rope, and we're learning how to heli abseil, and we're doing all this, but we still don't really know too much about the sort of SFSG lifestyle because it's not properly been announced. I think it might have been just before then. It might have been announced, but again, we didn't know a lot about it. And I just remember head in the clouds, like, what the fuck is going on here? And it was such a fucking great transition to go from there out to the heat of back to Iraq again, and then all of a sudden we're cutting around on 50 cals on Humvees, we're fast roping out of helicopters onto cordons, and it was like the fucking alliest tour I could ever think of back then. It was just like, this is amazing, absolutely amazing.
Yeah, how
And
about that for the people at home that don't know, SFSG, Special Forces Support Group, probably come about off the back of Op Barras when one para supported 2-2 in the rescue. I mean, I've just done a podcast with 3 guests. I'll not spoil it. It's going to be out very, very, very shortly.
Yep.
Three people, one of the prisoners that was taken hostage there, one of the guys that planned it, and then a guy from Power Edge that was involved in the village assault. So that'll be out very, very soon. Very, very good podcast coming. I think it's never been done in that depth. Anyway, I digress. But that was kind of the start. The success of that mission, I think, led on to Hereford going, you know what, we could actually take these guys and use them to a better sort of role. Do you know what I mean? And that was the start of it, wasn't it?
By all accounts, I think we were probably due to, because there was a round of cuts going on then, and I think we were going to lose a battalion. So I think it was Jacko. Jacko managed to sort of save a battalion by pushing them into that lane, which obviously, again, last thing we would have wanted to is go down to 2 battalions. But I know obviously there's a lot of stuff now. They call themselves the group and stuff like this. But huge respect to the lads doing now and doing what they're doing now, because they're getting some pretty cool stuff, and it's only going to get better and better and better. And again, like even going through the CT phase of it afterwards, I spent a year on a CT platoon with C Company 1 Para, and that was like the best training I've ever done in my life. Although we knew we were never going to get deployed first, there was always going to be your Herefords, your SB, your police counter-terrorism. There's always so many people above you. But we got good. We got really good. Within that year, we were fucking absolutely smashing it in the killing houses, in artesing up ladders onto fucking ships and abseiling onto small boats and stuff. And it was like, it was so cool. You had to properly pinch yourself, because you've all of a sudden gone from conventional warfare to sort of patrols, mini brick patrols, harbour areas, wreckers and stuff like that. And now all of a sudden you're fast roping, you're doing your cordon drills, you're climbing up ladders onto fucking ships, you're mibbing up the side of boats and that. And it's just like, this is cool as fuck, like absolutely cool as fuck. Just a complete contrast. And to spend a year there, like, don't get me wrong, it had its downsides. You obviously, you notice the moves were quite short, and if you lived anywhere outside of the bubble, you were staying there most weekends, and it's not like you were staying there because you could get on the lash, although we might have not got caught a few times. But
we have clever ways of getting on the lashes, Para.
Clever ways, but no one ever really missed a call back or anything like that. And no, it was really cool. And I really enjoyed my time in 1 Para, I genuinely do, and I'll never ever forget where I come from. But I genuinely did spend the majority, and this is where I come on to it, I spent the majority of my time in 2 Para, and I genuinely love both battalions, but again, majority of my time was spent in 2 Para. Like I said, I'll never forget where I came from, but I do, if someone says to me, what battalion you're from, I'm 2 Para. So I then went to the regimental recruiting team. My missus, she just had a baby at the time, my oldest boy, Harvey, he was due to be born. It was my firstborn, and it was quite busy at that stage. We were going tour, and I sort of felt like I wanted to be there for the first sort of at least 6 months to a year of his life. So I remember going up to see the RCMO and mentioned that I'd like to spend a year to see him born and make sure I'm around. Again, my first child. And he was like, do you know what, funny you say that, we've actually got a posting that I need to fill in the regimental recruiting team down in Colchester. He was like, you'll stay within the regiment, you don't have to go away anywhere else, you'll keep your hat in and everything else. I was like, right, mega happy days. I went, yes, yeah, I'd love to. So off I went to a regimental recruiting team down in Colchester. Didn't really know what to expect, and I was told it was a gift. It was full of bluffers. I'll fit right in. It was a graft. Like you didn't see weekends because you're doing insight courses every weekend. You were on the road when you wasn't running an insight course, so yeah, you got like your time off during the week and stuff like that. But it was actually quite a graft, and there were some fucking mega blokes there as well. Really got to meet some mega bloke. One of my best mates, who I'm still best mates with now. I was best man at his wedding, New Year's Eve just gone. Uh, Met him there, met so many great people there, and it was just good. It was like still being part of the reg, but you were getting to do some different cool stuff, which involved a lot of drinking. Definitely involved a lot of drinking. And then while I was there, I managed to get juniors nipped, a PTI course, and then got my full screw out of it. And then I remember doing a families day in for 2-para it was, and I remember ex-1-para legend Tony Obbins. He was 2-para at the time. I think he was the RSM. He was the RSM or the RCMO, and he came over and said, "Look, Foxy, I've heard you've been through a bit of trouble recently." He says, "How do you fancy coming and joining 2-para and sort of staying in Colchester with your family, and coming on the next Herrick tour with us as a section commander?" And I was like, "Fucking Roger!" I've obviously just seen what's gone on at Herrick 8. I've seen what the lads have done. Obviously, it was plastered all over the news. They're fucking absolute legends. Some of the stuff that they went through, obviously, a lot of dark times as well. But I knew, because I played for 2-para football team and 3-para football team, I knew a lot of the blokes in there by then.
Yeah.
So it was quite good. I had a lot of mates in there. I've been going to a lot of the same mess functions as them, as well as a screw. So I bit his hand off and literally transferred me straight across to 2-para. And like I said, sort of built up to go on the Herrick tour. Initially, I joined C Company, and initially I was going to go out, get acting sergeant, and go and do the int sergeant, which I never. I'm far from fucking intelligent. I mean, I'm the first person to eat the apple crayons in a pack, and it's like
They're the best ones.
yeah, exactly. I'm like, I should not be doing this. And I remember getting sent down to the Tick Alpha course in Chickshands. And I remember waking up one. How I'm here now as a Yeoman Warder with an LSGC, I'll never know. I'll never know. And I remember waking up one morning after a night on the lash where we shouldn't have been. We went down to. I was a screw, so we went down to the screws mess, and they had a big party on, and ended up in the officers' mess, and they've got like this big suit of armour in there. I woke up next to it in my bed that next morning in the sergeant's mess anyway, and obviously everyone's out on parade, and it's like, right, a fucking suit of armour's gone missing. I'm straight away. I'm just like, yes, it's in my room.
It's in my bed.
It's in my bed. That was the easiest pull I've ever had. And literally ended up getting dragged in and was like, "Look, you're not taking this seriously. You need to do this, that, and the other." And anyway, it goes to show I never ended up being the int sergeant, and I got demoted, so to say. I was never that rank anyway. I was literally just given acting, but I had to relinquish that and go to be a screw as a section commander and a multiple 2IC out in Afghan. Oh no. So the plan
It is bonkers. But the stories like that, the on the piss stories are legendary, aren't they? You know, and half of them you can't tell. I'm more than aware of that. But no. So you've gone to 2-para Herrick tour, build up to that. How was Herrick 13? I know all that. I never got on a Herrick tour. I remember reading the book after the lads come back off the 3-para lads come back off the 06 tour, and I was like, I tried to kind of go like on a full-time reserve service to get back with 2-para for the 08 tour. And I was actually back in green kit at Chilwell Barracks in Nottingham, going to do an 8-miler. I've been out 5 or 6 years on the CP circuit. And I got offered a job with a company in Iraq on $135,000 a year. So I spoke to the captain who was Para Reg, and I basically went, "What would you do?" And he went, "Look, I know you want to go to Afghan, but go and earn 135,000." So I did that, and I never went on the Afghan tour. And look, you got to be careful what you wish for. I have no regrets, but because obviously a lot of people have come back from them tours injured physically, and obviously we talk about the PTSD and all that kind of stuff that's like massive now. So for you, how was the Herrick tour? Was it a good tour, if that's the right word?
Yeah, I genuinely loved it. It was brilliant. So again, I was married with a couple of kids then. I'd had Casey, she was 3 months old then. We'd had to move out the week before I left, and then went out there and sort of left a 3-month-old and a 3-year-old back home. But it was like, black and white. And I know it sounds fucking callous, and I'll come back onto this later when I have my troubles, but it's easy to forget. Like, they're at home, you're out there, and to be fair, there's an element of, if they are on your mind, you've got every chance of dropping a ball, and that could not only put your life in danger, but someone else's as well. So you've got to literally be on it the whole time. And it was easy to put them to one side and just focus on being out there. Life just seems, I don't know what it is, but life just seems more black and white in places like that. And I know
Yeah.
that sounds absolutely alien to someone that's never been there before and been in that situation, but it really is. It's just like you're in a routine. Obviously, you're not setting patterns or anything like that, but you're in your routine. You know you're getting up, you know what you're doing that day, you've got your orders, you're going out to do this, you're going out to do that, you finish, you come back. Yeah, it's rations and stuff like that. And you're living in an absolute shithole. We were out in checkpoints pretty much the whole tour. I think the most we spent was like a 3-week period where we were inside a patrol base, let alone somewhere like Bastion. We were literally right up at the front. It wasn't as punchy as Herrick 8 or Herrick 6, not even close, but it was still, there was still enough. There was still enough. And again, at that stage, the IED threat had evolved massively, so that was sort of the main focus. And unfortunately, we did get hit quite badly and lost a couple of lads, and so many more injured, and like you said, through the PTSD as well. But it's, if someone said to you, "You're going back tomorrow," you'd bite their hand off, because it's just, life's just easier out there. I know you've got to deal with like IEDs and Taliban and people like that, but it just is. I just find life so much easier to navigate out there. I'm shit at my personal life, like completely shit at it. But there, I'm good at something. I feel like I'm good at something. And don't get me wrong, I wasn't the best. I was quite a newly promoted sort of corporal. I'd never had any experience apart from juniors and being in camp. It was my first experience as that, and I probably did go a little bit harder on some of the lads that I'd have liked to, and I sort of got my mistakes out there, which is obviously not the best place to do that. And I hold my hands up for that now. And looking back, I was a bit of a knob at times. Well, I have been my whole life, but at times there, I was a bit of a knob as a screw to some of the lads, and I genuinely do regret that. And then we literally came back from Herrick, which again massively learnt so much about. And even I got the fucking blues when I got back. You do your R&R, which the RAF somehow managed to make my 14 days and turn them into 6. So I got my 6 days R&R over Christmas, which again I should be grateful for. I managed to get home for Christmas to see my young family. Spent a bit of time with them, managed to get over to Disneyland for a couple of days, and then back out on tour. And that's when the blues really fucking hit me. And it was like, oh, I'm going to sign off, I'm going to sign off, I'm going to sign off. And I remember my boss, he's still in now actually, and he grabbed us and was like, you don't want to be doing this. This is not you thinking. Just give it a couple of weeks, see how you feel. Don't do anything stupid right now. And sort of you get out of it, you get over it, and yeah, it's certainly a learning curve, that's for sure.
But there is that element as well. It's not just the being in one of those sort of countries, where it's a two-way range. It is,
Yeah.
it's the being away from your family that takes its toll. And, it's funny you should mention that. A lot of blokes I do talk about how simple it is it's a simple life when you're on tour. You get up, you do your fizz, you admin yourself, and then you go on patrol, your day's mapped out. You've got nothing else to worry about. There's no bills to worry about paying. It's when the blokes come home and then they have all of a sudden these stuff that people take on a day-to-day basis, stresses, paying bills, doing this, organising your life. Blokes really, really struggle with that, don't they?
Yeah, big time. I'm not in no sense, although money was tight, but I didn't help that situation because I had massive FOMO. So like all the single lads come back and they're all off on holiday, much like Northern Ireland, except there was no way I could have got away with that this time. They're all away on holiday, they're doing this together, they're doing that, and I'm fucking sat at home jealous, although I've got this fucking beautiful young family. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, well, they're my brothers. I need to go with my brothers. I need to go and do this. I need to spend time with them. I need to sort of split my time between everyone. And there's no keeping everyone happy or anything like that. But again, I didn't always put my family first, and that's something that I'll come on to later, which really fucked me up. Like really fucked me up. And in a sense, where we talk about loyalty as a core value, and it's like, well, to who? Because there's no way you can keep loyalty to the regiment and to the British Army and to your family at the same time. That's just fucking impossible. It's just, unless you split yourself in two physically, there's just no way you can do that. So it's like, well, they want you to go on a post in here, which is not really good for your family, but you're going to go anyway because that's what they want you to do. And you're like, fucking reg, fucking let's go, fucking, well, yeah, it's good for my career, it's good for this. Eventually we'll get paid more money, it's this, but you don't understand all the sacrifices that genuinely come with it. And that's something that I only learned towards the back end of my career.
But hindsight's a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
You're looking back. You're doing that. You're doing your life for the first time, and everyone can look and go, "Well, he made that mistake, or whatever." But you don't see it at the time. You're just doing it. It's you're making the mistakes for the first time, aren't you?
Yeah, big time. And I've no doubt I still am. I absolutely still am. But there's no I can do about that now.
No, fair play. Well, it's nice that you've come on to talk about that and admit, them feelings. It's not an easy thing to do and expect, talk about the mistakes you made. One with the blokes, but again, I'm sure the blokes will see that and they would have grown up and realised that it's not a true character of your character. You're just under a lot of pressure, and you do things you learn by your mistakes. It's a part of life, isn't it?
And I came straight from there and went to depot as a section commander. And I'd learned a lot out in Afghan, and to come fresh from there straight into a training team was a bit of a dream, to be honest. It was a dream because I wanted to go there. It was something I'd always wanted to do. So when the opportunity came around to go and do that, I absolutely bit the hand off. And it's mega because you can almost look at my career literally straight down the line. It was tours for the first sort of half of it, and then the last part of my career, there was no tours. It was all training. And I genuinely, and this is going to sound really strange, especially from a regiment point of view, but I actually enjoyed the training part of it more because there was an end product. Like, you go away on these tours and there is no end product. Like, look what's just happened to Afghan, and which is a big pill to swallow anyway. You've gone out there, you've lost friends, you've put your whole fucking life on hold to do stuff like that. And there's loads of the blokes that have done like 4, 5, 6 tours out there, and they've spent years out there. And it's like, for what? For what? There's all these people that died, and his family's still here now that are like, well, what was the fucking point? And anyway, I'm not going to get into it politically, but what happens, and you get pointed in that direction, and still you will just go, and you'll do as you're told. You'll go get on with it because that's what we were trained to do. And let's be honest, while we're out there, we're doing what we've been trained to do, and we're enjoying it, enjoying getting amongst it. Yeah, there's shit times, but there's a lot more good times than there is bad times.
Yeah,
just taking a rough with this move and stuff like that. But with a training team, you're taking a civilian and you're turning them into a paratrooper, and there's no fucking prouder feeling than being on that parade square right at the end with your chest out, marching like an absolute dickhead because you can't march. But yeah, it's just an unreal feeling. And a training team I had, like, again, another one of my best mates, Northie, we were in the same training team together, and we put so much into our sections. Like, sometimes we'd be in at 5 in the morning, and sometimes you'd be there till 11:30, 12 o'clock at night, just adminning them and making sure everything's done, making sure you're setting them up for the best possible outcome. And you wanted your section to be the best. That was it. It was that simple. And honestly, I absolutely loved my time up in Catterick as a corporal, and then going back as a sergeant as well. It was just like, it was the best. And again, I made mistakes as a sergeant, which I knew I was doing at the time as well. And it was me that actually fucking, was a lad is the now P Company Sergeant Major. He was one of my screws when I was a sergeant up there. And I think he had to have a chat to me when I was platoon sergeant and said, look, mate, he says, can I have a chat? And I was like, yeah, of course we can. And he was like, look, you're sort of stepping on our toes a little bit in the corridor and stuff like that. You need to sort of leave us be and let us do our bit. And I'm like, you're fucking right. You are absolutely right. And because I've not long been there, a screw, come back, done a little bit of time, and gone back as sergeant, I still had that sort of mindset where the platoon, I wanted to try and be involved as much as I can, where actually I needed to just do the fucking admin in the background and just make sure that everything ran smoothly and leave that to the screws. It's their time now. I needed to step back from that. But that training team was honestly, it was fucking brilliant. I could not have asked for better screws to have been in that training team, and we had a fucking absolute great time. Once I'd obviously stepped back a bit and pulled myself back. But again, I'm not afraid to admit any mistakes I've made. I've made fucking shitloads, absolute shitloads. And again, it's about learning from them, picking yourself up and going back from there. But honestly, two complete different contrasts. Tours, training, 100%. The end product of being in a training team is far outweighs the shit times.
Yeah,
But
I understand fully what you're saying. Like you say, turning like a civilian, as you put it, into a young paratrooper, and like you say, everyone always remembers the depot staff. So these people will remember you for the rest of their lives. I remember my depot crew, so do you, with fond memories and nightmare. But you look, unless you had some of the one of the ones that was an absolute dickhead bully, because there was them knocking around as well. But that again, that's their character. That's not mine. That's the way they were. But majority for me were switched on paratroopers that you went to battalion looking up to and having stories. And you meet up with blokes now on the piss or whatever, and you always remember your full screws and stuff. So it's a very influential role that you're in, and one that needs to be taken seriously, which you obviously did. So moving on, obviously you went on down and you did OPTAG as like was you colour sergeant down on the OPTAG training and stuff like
that? Down there, and I genuinely really loved my time there as well. We did the public order, so it was just fucking violence on a weekly basis. Whether it was a course or going and invaling someone out in Cyprus, because we got to spend a lot of time in Cyprus because we were part of the Tosca team as well, and it was genuinely a joy. It was genuinely a joy. Some of the lads that we worked there, we were always like crap at, and this is where you really sort of step back and you're like, fuck me, they're good. They're very good. They are very good soldiers, and you're working with a few of them. And we had a really good training team. We were closer than all the other training teams. We were socialising a lot more around each other's houses, just doing so much together. Because the closer you are, the better you're going to work together. So it was really good. We had there was myself, another para-reg lad. We had a Royal Marine, a Scots, a Guard, and a Gurkha, and obviously such diverse parts of the infantry. Including the naval infantry, our royal friends. I know they love being called that, but honestly, some of the most professional lads I've ever had the opportunity to work with, and genuinely really enjoyed that. And it was a really good posting, really good posting. And then it set me up really because I managed to finish number one out of 60 odd colour sergeants, which was mega, absolutely mega. And then that sort of helped promote me and get me to the dream job that I've always wanted to do, and that was sort of P Company Sergeant Major. And again, your stars have to align to get any sort of job that you want within the British Army, let alone the fucking Parachute Regiment. And the stars genuinely somehow fucking aligned for that job, and then I was given it, and honestly, that's hands down the best job I've ever had in my whole life. It was fucking brilliant. Just being able to be out on the ground, watching depot firsthand again. Obviously, it's somewhere that I hold close to my heart anyway, and being able to see the recruits come to you and then take them away from the platoon, so there's no biasness or anything like that, and run them completely through P Company with an unbiased head, and then spit out the results at the end, and then hand them back to the platoon is just like it's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant because I can see it from both sides. I saw it as a screw as a platoon sergeant. When you hand that over, you don't really know what you're going to get back. You don't know who you're going to get back. Hopefully, you feel like you've prepared them best that you can. But then some of them could go and just put so much pressure on themselves, make themselves ill, not sleeping, not eating properly, or anything like that, and then it all goes to shit. And I was never really the screamy, shouty type, and I think anyone will tell you this that sort of came through, unless it was needed. There was a couple of times where it was genuinely needed, but I'm a big believer of like that. You wouldn't go there if you wasn't ready. So any person that literally steps onto that 10 miler on that first event is ready, and that's fact. There's ready. Everyone's got it in there. I'll never forget. There was a lad in my first training team. I won't mention his name just in case he's still cutting around now. And the whole training team was like, he's not ready. He is not ready. And the platoon sergeant at the time was Q Daniels, a guy called Q Daniels, mega bloke. And he came in and says he has to go on now, whether he's ready or not, because all his mates are there with him. If we put him back and he goes on with another training team, he's not going to have the same in his head. It won't get him through. And I thought, no chance. He's going to fail. We're literally setting him up to fail. And he went and fucking smashed it. Absolutely smashed it, because the geezers that were next to him were his brothers that he's just gone all the way through training with, and he managed to pass. And I just looked and thought, wow, fair play. I was like, yeah, I was wrong. You was clearly right. And it was quite a good feeling because he was in my section as well. And I thought it was a really good feeling that he dug out blind, not for himself, for those to his left and right. And I just thought, fair play. And I'll always remember that. And I took that into it as well. And it was such a cool job. We actually did a documentary on YouTube while we were there as well, which was
I
came
think I
from the
saw that. I've seen that. I'm
yeah,
sure I've seen it. Yeah.
really good. It's called Pegasus Company for obvious reasons, and it's on YouTube. I think it's like 4 parts of it. It's only an hour all in total, and it was a guy called well, he was Major Mike Thwaite back then. He's definitely progressed a bit since then. Really, really great guy. He came down and fucking so clever the way he put like body cams on people, cameras on the log race, cameras on fucking smoke grenades, drones up in the air, and it was pretty cool. But it's a really good insight into P Company. And what I sort of did, I created a Twitter account, and I was like brutally honest with everything. I was like, right, day one, we've got 120 people formed up. And obviously on day one of an all-arms course, you've got the 8 miler in the morning, which isn't easy, but it's all time carded. Every single thing's time carded, and it runs like clockwork. I was so impressed when I got there and I watched it. That so much so that again I was like, imposter syndrome. How the fuck am I going to continue this? I can fucking barely eat my scoff on time, and I'm like, how am I going to get to these checkpoints at these steps? Well, that's not my job. That's the OC's job, and obviously the PTI and the SIs, they get amongst it and fucking do all of that, and I'm just a guy at the back that fucking ticks people off. But it's fucking incredibly precise how that works, and it was impressive. I had Steve Rayner as my OC, who'd been there as an SI, as a Sergeant Major, and back as OC as well. So he was Mr. P Company, which was brilliant for me. Sort of helped me bed myself in as well, and everything about it, to the DS that were there, just mega bunch of blokes. First time I'd ever worked with a female as well. We had a female medic on the team, a couple of female medics. They were brilliant, apart from the shit that they used to get off the fucking old and bold on social media. Well, why are they wearing a maroon beret, this, that, and the other? And you're like, the fucking medics, mate. The part of 16 Brigade, that's just what happens now. And I actually passed a female Parachute Regiment officer. So we was all there in the room. She obviously, the computers go into the scores go into the computer, what everyone gives them, and it spits out a fucking result at the end, whether they've passed or failed. And I won't go too much into the scoring system because I don't want to give it away. And like I said, sorry, just reeling back one. At the end of each day, I'd say, right, we started off with 120, 70 got yellow cards or red cards, sorry, and 8 have failed, so they've gone home. So we now sit on fucking 112. It's quite an impressive bit of paratrooper maths, that actually.
Good. I'm impressed.
And I was really honest, every event, right, speed play today, and I'd take a little picture of it and I'd put the results up, what we failed. And it built up quite a following to the point where Army HQ are actually monitoring my social media feed. Because I don't know if it was one of them, you get a lot of shit social media feeds in the Army. And, well, across the tri-service, no doubt. And this was seen as one of those feel-good ones. And so many people were engaging. And a lot of people actually genuinely felt like they can come and have a go at P Company because they'd seen the reality of it, and it's not like a load of fucking SIs digging a 6-foot ditch out so it's fucking 9 foot, or just trying to make their life more difficult. The course is fucking hard enough as it is. There's no way you need to make it any harder. So, and the standard stays exactly the same regardless. Anyway, I went. I actually passed four females passed while I was there, and every single one genuinely deserved to pass. And I got so much hatred in my inbox from guys I'd never even met before that are like, you're the P Company Sergeant Major, our forefathers are going to be turning in their graves, you fucking passed a chick into the regiment, this, that, and the other. And I'm like, wow. And first of all, the integrity of the staff. How are you questioning the integrity of my staff? Like, they're doing their fucking job absolutely brilliantly. And second of all, why would you think we'd drop standards? Does it make your achievement feel any less because a female's passed? And I bit a couple of times, and then I just had to learn to just fucking ignore it all and put it in the back. But I wasn't the only one. I think quite a few people got in there. But I remember getting them together and having a chat with them, saying, look, your life's about to completely change now, because you're the first soldier that's passed, and you're the first Parachute Regiment officer that's passed, both as females. And I says, everyone's going to want a piece of you now. That can be as much as you want, or it can be as little as you want. And obviously, rightly so, both of them wanted to sort of get the message out there that it's achievable, but also they wanted to get their own heads down and continue with their own career, because that's what they were bothered about, their career, not trying to be the first this or trying to be the first that. And yeah, it was quite a shit time to be receiving messages like that. It made you feel a bit shit, but
yeah, well, you're going to get it. You were going to get it, and I believe that one of the female that you're talking about, I've been in touch with. She's a triathlete now, and I'm in the process of getting her on the podcast to talk about her experience on P Company, because I'd like to see it. Look, it's 2025. You know, it was always going to happen at some point that females passed. And a fair play to them. Like you say, I know Power Reg, and I know that the standards had never dropped, so they perfectly earned the right to be there, you know.
Yeah.
So obviously you had a great time up there as
Yeah.
oh, don't excuse me. I've got one of them nicotine pouches in, look, I shouldn't have. But, a great time to be up there. You enjoyed it. Obviously, a lot of shit come your way and everything else. But then you went from there, and then we've had a chat, and you know I've got some details about you, and then you got a post into Brize. Is that right?
Yeah. So at the time, I was going through a bit of difficulty in my marriage. So I was married for the second time, another 2 kids, another 2 young boys, and obviously they're down in Colchester, I'm up in Catterick, then they get posted to Blandford, and obviously I'm spending more and more time away from them and just sort of changing again, having a great time up there, looking forward to going to work on a Monday and sort of coming home and being a bit miserable because I wasn't at work, and again like choosing a job over the family, which hurt me personally. Well, it would have hurt the family as well, but again it would have hurt me more. But then obviously I got meant to be going back to Para to do a Company Sergeant Major piece, and then obviously got the opportunity then to do RQ and potentially a RSM somewhere. Don't ever believe that I would have been RSM of a battalion or anything like that. Maybe a training environment at a push potentially, but those ambitions were still there. And I remember being on a P Company event, and the Reggie Colonel came down with the Reggie Adge, and I spoke to them, and my ex had just been posted to Blandford, and I thought, well, what's the closest post into there? Because my time was due to be up, and they says like, well, we've actually got a posting at Brize that needs filling. And I looked on the map, and I was like 60 odd miles away. I was like, that could work, and I went, I need to try and go down there and sort of save this marriage. But my wife at the time never knew that the marriage was in any difficulty. It was all me that knew that. I didn't know whether I was going to sort of continue or not, and it kept that to myself, which was absolutely the wrong thing to do. Went down there to try and sort of save that. Imploded, absolutely imploded. So I knew if I took that job, that was it, career done, dusted. But there was a part of me that's like, well, you've done the job you wanted to do, so maybe it's their turn now. Like, come on, give yourself a break. Let's go down there. It's their turn now. Because again, she's obviously allowed me to go up there and do that job. Whether I would have taken it or not without her consent is a different subject altogether. But I never needed to go down that route. She obviously was happy for me to go up there and do it. So I felt like I owed something to her, and then I just resented myself for not being back amongst the blokes. It's a very small team at Brize. For those that don't know, it's you running all the admin for the parachuting life. It sounds like a great job and stuff like that, but in reality, it's really quiet. It's not a punchy job, and you're looking at my whole career's like sort of busy. Gets there, stop. It's not that hard. There's a lot of downtime and a lot of time where you're sat on your own as well, and it's the loneliest job I've ever done in my life. And then marriage ended, and I'm back at Brize on my own in a mess again, and I'm thinking, I'm almost 40 years old and I'm living in a mess with fuck all to show for it. I've got 2 failed marriages, 2 children with each at different ends of the fucking country, because then by that time she'd posted up to York, so it was like, fucking hell. And I just let everything just build up on top of me and build up on top of me, and like I had a lot of time to think. And this is where I spoke about the loyalty piece before. Loyal to who? To the job or to the family? And don't get me wrong, I've made fucking mistakes. I've cheated. I've not been a fucking great human being, but I've just followed the job, followed the career, and tried to map things out for myself, and not really thinking beyond that. Shit on my kids, shit on my family, and I just rolled with that and allowed that to happen. And just, yeah, it fucking hit me like a ton of bricks. Absolutely hit me like a ton of bricks, to the extent where I was so ashamed and embarrassed. And then it was Remembrance Weekend as well. I remember looking on Fill Your Boots, and there was all these suicides, and Alfie, mega bloke, genuinely mega bloke, does so much good for the military, and he's pushing out all these messages from people, and he must struggle doing it as well, because the trauma dumping and stuff like that on it must be fucking pretty horrendous. And I remember reading all that, and I tried to make an effort to read every single one, and then I was slowly spiraling, like really fucking spiraling. It was a Friday afternoon. I was meant to go and collect the kids, and for some reason couldn't. I can't remember what happened, but there was a stop put to it. So I went to Morrison's, Tesco's, Co-op, all the different places around Carterton, garages, and bought 2 boxes of pills at each one, and then literally just came back, sat at my desk on a Friday afternoon, sat in uniform, and just took a fucking overdose. And the next thing I know, there's paramedics on camp, there's police, there's everything, and they're trying to get me into this ambulance, and I'm still like, no, I'm not going, I'm fighting it. I'm just like absolutely fighting it. And in the end, I agreed to go to the hospital, but refused to drink the charcoal drink, which is now had other implications with my liver and stuff like that. But it's like, I just didn't want to be here. I just felt like I'm letting everyone down. I literally wrote letters on my computer, printed them off, placed it to all 4 of my children, and literally left them on my desk. And that was it. As far as I was concerned, I was done. I was a failure to them. I was failing. This is what we talk about, this fear of failure. Like, yeah, I might not have failed my career, but I definitely failed my family. And that was, I don't know why it took me so long to sort of realise that, but that really fucking hit me. Really hit me. And that, Chris, was 2 years ago today. So today is the anniversary of that, which is, yeah. So like, and then, so it's Remembrance Weekend as well. And it was then as well. And sorry, 2 seconds. And it was really difficult because you think about all these people that have lost loved ones on tours and stuff like that, and you're thinking they can't have them back, and I try to end it all. And I genuinely have to live with that sort of guilt, regret, fucking embarrassment and shame more than anything. Like, I'm so fucking embarrassed about it and ashamed of it that it fucking eats away at me. So much so that yesterday was Remembrance Sunday, and I had to get in my car, and I had the kids this weekend, which was mega. I was meant to be marching on the cenotaph with the Yeoman body, and I had to get in my car and just drive up to Grimsby, take the boys up there, so that they could go back to York, and then take my time and drive back down, because I didn't want to be anywhere around it or anything like that, because I felt shame that all these people that have unfortunately lost their lives, I wanted to do that, and I'm sort of a bit of survivor's guilt, so to speak. So I shouldn't be here, but I am, and they should be here, and they're not, and that fucking eats away at me every day, every day.
Yeah, it's a difficult one, and like I say, I feel, thank you for sharing it. I can see obviously why you're talking about it, Foxy. It's just not an easy thing. It's not an easy thing for anyone to talk about, that you've got to them levels of kind of despair that, you know, there's only one way you can see your way out. And it, you know, it's becoming all too thing. And I always say that the thing is reaching out, but it's not always that easy, is it, to reach out?
You're absolutely bang on, and it's the reaching out part, and that was the bit that really I struggled with, because you're meant to be this fucking paratrooper, you're a sergeant major, and people know who you are, especially on an RAF camp as well, because I'm the only fucking para sergeant major there. Everyone sort of knew who I was. I'd already established myself on the station, and it was, yeah, it was difficult. So I sort of went through a back channel. I reached out to a Parachute Regiment welfare officer up at Catterick, where I'd just come from, and I dropped him a real message one night, and I said, look, this is where I'm at, this is how I'm feeling, but I don't want this to go on the record. I went, please, I can't have this on my record. Even though I was never going to deploy anyway. I was at fucking Brize Norton. There was no way I was going to be deployed, but I didn't want to go out downgraded or anything like that. I wanted to leave on my terms. So he squared me away, actually, and he put me in touch with a scripture reader called Steve, who actually worked at Brize Norton, who obviously is part of the chaplaincy team, but doesn't push any of that on you at all. And he rides Harleys, he's into his music, he's in motorbike club, he's a fucking absolute mega bloke, and I'm still in touch with him to this day. And I trusted him instantly, and I started opening up with him, and he was absolutely brilliant with me, absolutely brilliant. He was going to come to the hospital with me when it all happened and stuff like that. Afterwards, he would come and sit around the house while it was annoying at the time, but I sort of see why now. So I was never left on my own. He would come and sit around my house, and then when the missus got back, she would obviously sit there. So it was a bit of a complete different. There was always someone there, essentially, that I could speak to, or to make sure I didn't do anything stupid. And then sort of tried medication, tried therapy. The therapy was pretty good. I went through DCMH and it was quite quick. Started playing football again. That was about the only phys that I'd done, because I took a complete year off phys from P Company. I didn't touch nothing, and I genuinely believe that's a big factor of why I went down the route that I did, because I really had a focus. DCMH, really good, chatting with someone, opening up, fucking draining, like really draining, tiring, 2-hour sessions. But she was pregnant with twins, and I knew at some point that was going to end, because she needed to go on maternity leave. So I did like 5 or 6 sessions with her. And then the last session, she says, I'm going to pass you to one of my colleagues now. And I was like, nah, I ain't starting again. Like, we've built up a trust. I went, not your fault. I completely knew this was going to happen. I went, you need to go and do your life. I appreciate that, but this is where it ends for me. And sort of came off the medication, cold turkeyed. I didn't feel like it did anything to me anyway. And off that, wasn't drinking at this stage. This was quite key, because I'd had a bit of a misdemeanor at the end of Catterick, so I wasn't drinking. So, which I genuinely believe probably saved me too. And then I started drinking and putting on weight, and was a bit like, right, I'm not better. I'm genuinely not better. This is, if anything, I'm worse. I'm genuinely worse. So, I don't know if you've heard of Tom Sergey, the Guerrilla Platoon. So I found the Guerrilla Platoon. I found Tom, and Tom used to be a recruit while I was at Catterick, I think. And I reached out to him at daft o'clock one night, pissed, and crying. I was in fucking tears, and I was just like, look, I need help, mate. I need to jump on what you're doing. I need a focus. I've got to do this. And he literally got back to me at like 3 o'clock in the morning, and he's like, right, Foxy, let's do a Zoom call tomorrow. Let's fucking get this sorted out, mate. This is what he said. He went, I've got you. I fucking got you. And you know what? I was like, yeah, fucking, he's got me. He's got me. And yeah, I went through face to face with him over Zoom. Well, not an online face to face as we are now. And he was fucking, he knew his shit. He knew what he was talking about. He'd obviously done PT Corps. He'd done a lot of overseas training as well. He's ex-Power Edge, so he fucking gets it. And he's been through P Company. And he literally put me on this program, and I became obsessed. I went out and bought scales for food, scales for everything. I was weighing out every bit of food I was eating, because I had a lot of time on my hands. I was in the gym 3 times a day, and I literally went from 89 kilograms, stripped it straight back, and ended up at 75, ripped to fuck. Mindset completely fucking changed. Like, everything changed about it. So it's not just like physical, it's mentally as well. Like, and some of the lessons that he was delivering, whether he meant to or not, was phenomenal. And I just caught to it so much. And I still, although I'm not doing any of that anymore, I've definitely not got time at the minute, but I'm still processing a lot of those lessons, and I still find myself going. I went out and did a run this morning, did 5.5 miles this morning through London, which is not fucking easy in the first place. And then, like, still going to the gym and doing bits and bobs, and I know how to look after myself. I've now done a nutrition course, so I know how to look after myself. And I just feel like having some focus and having something like that genuinely saved my life. And I know you can't really see it at the minute probably, but I'm still repping the Guerrilla Platoon t-shirt now, and honestly believe that really helped save me and stop me from plummeting any further and potentially not being here today.
There's a lot of that, mate, about what you put inside you, as in like food and nutrition, and how they call your gut the second brain, and how it affects you mentally and all those kind of things, you know. But it is that is a thing. You can't just fill yourself full of shit, booze and everything else and then expect to be okay mentally. It doesn't work. And what I can relate to you on that point is I've done 2 programs myself through a friend of mine and got like in phenomenal shape. I'm not at the minute. I'm not on one at the minute, but I know what you mean. I had a purpose where I had 6 meals a day. I had to get my cardio in on the stepper. I had to go and lift weights, and that purpose and whole sort of thing is really good for you mentally, isn't it?
Massively. And even something like weighing your food and just knowing, although it's boring, it's absolutely boring, and your mates are going out on the piss and stuff. And I remember having to text them all and saying, like, look, I know I'm being boring right now, but this is for something bigger. Absolutely bigger. And I knew I'd scared myself. I'd absolutely scared myself. I knew something had to change, and it genuinely like worked for me, massively worked for me. And obviously, I definitely wouldn't be where I am now without the Guerrilla Platoon and Tom's help. Like,
No, that's fair play to you, pal. Look, absolutely astounding that you've come back, you've accepted, you've admitted your kind of feelings, and you've turned your whole mentality around. So again, brilliant lessons for anyone watching. That you've got to be able to take them steps to kind of do something about it. You can't just plod on, because it's a spiral, and you will spiral to a point. And sadly, again, thank you for sharing it. You got to a point where you thought the only way out for me is to take my own life. And it's just, I can't imagine. I've been in dark places myself, but never to that point. So to be in that place must be a horrible, scary kind of feeling. And look, thank you for kind of sharing that part, which brings us on now to your current role, which kind of, when I saw it, I was like, I've got to get him on my podcast no matter what. I've known of you through friends, mutual friends, obviously Power Reg community, but obviously you told us you got accepted into a Humberside Fire Service. Obviously,
so
me being a former firefighter.
Yeah, I loved it. I thought, do you know what? I'm coming to the end of my career now. I actually had another year and a half to do if I wanted to. But there was something inside me that wanted to jump before I was pushed. I never wanted to commission. There was no question of me ever wanting to be an officer. I just didn't want to. And fair play to those that do. I've got absolutely nothing against people that go over to the dark side. But it's just not for me. It was never for me. And I've known for about sort of 6 years that I wanted to be at the Tower of London. This is just something that I've always wanted to do. I remember stumbling across an episode of Inside the Tower, and I thought, that's a bit of me. That's a bit of me. Because if you strip it all back and you say to yourself, when I get out, whether I have to, or I'm forced to get out, or that's it, I'm timed out, or whatever, what is the one thing you're going to miss the most? What's your non-negotiable? And this is one thing that I'll say to anyone that's coming up towards leaving, is think about what are you going to miss the most. And I pretty much guarantee every single person will say the blokes, the camaraderie, because that's it. At the end of the day, the job can sometimes be shit, the job can sometimes be mega, but one consistency about the whole career is the blokes to your left and right. And that's something that I wanted to replicate. So I thought, well, the Tower of London, you've got to have served 22 years minimum. So they've all done 22 years. They've all obviously been warrant officers as well. So you've got so much shared experience, although from a massively diverse background. And I'm like, that's a bit of me. And I got friendly with a guy who's still here now. He's one of the sergeants here now, actually. He's just promoted. Mega guy, Dan Benson. He sort of spoke to me about what it's like becoming a Yeoman Warder. And then that was it. Then I was like, yeah, I want to be here. And he brought me in a couple of New Year's Eve ago. So I spent New Year's Eve here. And it was fucking amazing. The camaraderie, the banter. It was brilliant. I remember going into the guard room for the first time in the Byward Tower. And there's about 7 or 8 people in there, a couple of them having a brew. So as you can see, nothing changes really from the military. It's no transition whatsoever. And they're all just ripping the shit out of each other. And it was mega. There was a guy in the RAF Reg who was absolutely getting pelters, but he was giving it back. And it was just like, and then the Navy was getting it. And it was like, this is me. This is where I want to be. Like, this is how I want to be. So I thought, right, mega. And then in September last year, I was at Brize, and a job got advertised for here at the Tower of London. And I thought, my official 22-year point's not till my 40th birthday, which was December. So I thought, I'm not going to be able to do it. So I didn't. And then after September, I found out from Dan that they took 3 people on from that round of interviews. And there's probably not going to be a job for a couple of years. And I thought, shit, how's your luck? So I was like, right. All of a sudden, that was taken away from me. So I thought, right, I need to think about what I want. And then again, camaraderie. And then I saw a Facebook post off someone. Someone put a Facebook post on. Obviously, I knew a lot of firefighters. Obviously, yourself, Jamie Flynn. There's quite a lot. Mitch, Gaz Oldsworth. There's quite a few firefighters in the Power Reg community, and I've been following a little bit on Facebook and stuff like that. And I thought, well, not only do you get your camaraderie piece, but you get the adrenaline piece there as well. So I thought, right, and Humberside Fire and Rescue, because I'm obviously from Grimsby, they were recruiting. So I thought, right, I'm going to have a look at this. And the shift pattern was 24 hours on, 24 hours off, 24 on, 24 off, 5 days off. And I'm like, fucking gift. I could get another job. It's like, what a gift that is. And I applied, went through the whole process. And I've never done an interview before in my life. Not unless it was without coffee. I've done a few of them, but done an interview, and I remember the inspector or whoever it was. There was an admin lady and an inspector, and they interviewed me. And I sat in there and I didn't have a clue what was coming. And there must have been hundreds of people there that day. And he says to me, right, you've got 5 minutes now to make some notes. And then in 5 minutes, I'm going to ask you a question. And you've got 20 minutes to answer it. And I'm like, what the fuck? I went, now I can fucking talk for England. But I was like, that's when the panic set in. And I'm like, right, 20 minutes to answer this question. Shit. And he went, right, using the core code of ethics, what makes you think that you'd make a good firefighter? So I was like, fuck. And obviously time's ticking on by, and he's like, right, you've got a minute left. Do you want to write something down? And I was like, nah, I'm ready. I'm ready. I fucking wasn't. I absolutely wasn't ready. And he went, right, time starts now, go. And I just started going into like the values and standards of the British Army and how it aligns with the firefighter core code of ethics. And essentially, instead of like blowing smoke up my ass and telling him where I was really good at these points, I told him where I'd failed, where I'd learned from it and how I'd implemented it in the future. And it seemed to go down really well. And anyway, I'm going on and on and on. And then at the end of it, well, it'd not stopped the timer, but he started like going into a bit of detail about it. And then I started getting asked questions, which I thought brilliant. And then the admin lady had to say, that's been 30 minutes now. We need to get the next one in. And he had to stop it. And he went, oh, sorry. He went, I could have spoke to him for hours. And I was like, fucking mega. So I felt really good about myself. And when I went back into the room with all the other, I must have been one of the oldest there. I definitely must have been one of the oldest there. There was all young kids. And I thought, no disrespect, but these have got nothing about them. There's no life experience. There's nothing there. So I felt like I did all right. And then I got called back for a medical, did the medical, took a while to get back. And then I got an email saying, we'd like to offer you the job. Starts on the 22nd of September. And I thought, fucking dancer, I've got the job. Brilliant. And then the day before, I got an alert from Historic Royal Palaces telling me that there's a job as a Beefeater coming up. So I was like, what do I do? What do I do? I'm like, they need an answer, and I've not even gone through the process yet, so I don't even know if I'm going to get this job. And I just thought to myself, I like really had to mull it over. And I was like, well, that's what I've always wanted. I've got to be true to myself, and I've got to just give it a chance. I don't want to go 10, 15 years down the line and regret something. So I put in the application, and I had a couple of weeks before I had to reply to them. So I did the application and nothing came back. And I thought, right, I went, if I get nothing by tomorrow, I'm going to accept the fire service. And then I get an email that night saying, we'd like to bring you down for an interview. So I come down for my first set of interviews, did that, got a call back for my second set of interviews, did all that. And then literally found out 2 days after, right, you've got the job, we'd like you to come and be a Yeoman Warder. So I've got 2 jobs here. I've interviewed for both. I've done really well on both. And I'm like, what do I do? And I went for the Yeoman Warder one, something a bit left of field, something that I've always wanted. So I thought, right, I've been true to myself. And with the firefighter one, I said, look, I'm really sorry, but something else has come up. I'm going to have to say no. Apologies if I messed anyone around. It's not how I want it to be. But any chance you can give me some feedback on my interview? And they did. I think they had something like 3,000 applicants. And obviously they didn't interview that many people, but she said I finished joint top of the interview process, which was a real confidence lift because I'd never had one before. And then I did that, which set me in good stead for this one, or this 2 sort of intense days of interviews. But at least here it was all to and fro-in. So it was a bit better at thinking on your feet than that one, which was like, shit, you've just got to fucking roll with it. And I'm really glad. So now it just means I've sort of swapped my beloved maroon beret for a Tudor bonnet, which is a little bit different. Not many people, well, no paratroopers can ever say they've worn one of these before. And it's not a hat. I've had many comments saying it's a hat, it's a bonnet. I can promise you that. I can't tell you what the fucking difference is, but I'm not having it like it's a hat, it's a bonnet. And on the inside, I don't know if you can see there, I've obviously got my wings in there as well. So it's always quite close to me. Days. And then on this side, I've got I don't know if you can see the cap badge in there. The cap badge is a bit skew-whiff because it's on a pin. But yeah, I got the cap badge in there as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, it's unbelievable. Like, honestly, it's to still be serving the crown as well. It's an absolute honour. And some of the pinch me moments, like now, it's obviously knocking on a little bit. The public are out now, and I'm going to walk through there, and it's just silence, and it's quiet, and it's somber, and it's just, yeah. When we talk about imposter syndrome, like, this is ultimate imposter syndrome, and I'm not trying to dull the reg down or anything else like that, but more people have worn the maroon beret than they have that Tudor bonnet, and I'm number 426, so I'm Beefeater 426. There's only ever been 428 of us, so technically more people have been in space than have been a Yeoman Warder, which is quite a cool stat. And we never really got the opportunity to do any ceremonial stuff within the regiment, so it was like, wasn't an itch I needed to scratch, but I like having a goal and going for it. And sometimes you say it becomes obsessive, and then when that goal gets taken away from you, you're like, well, it's actually not that bad. I can switch it and go for something else or try something else. And then to have the opportunity to come back and to do this I was really lucky, really lucky.
No, I think you made the right decision. We talked off air. I'm not going to slate any organisations, but we talked off air, and I think that for you, I think at your age, done what you have done throughout your career, I think 100% you made the right decision with going for the being a Beefeater as opposed to joining the Fire and Rescue Service. That's my personal opinion. But no, look, absolutely fantastic. Before we finish, can you share briefly, without giving too much away, what your kind of role entails as a Beefeater? Because I bet people don't get an insight into it.
Nah, like I said, I never even knew this existed. I didn't even know you could become a Beefeater. But before you can even apply, and like hundreds of people apply for these jobs, hundreds of people, and you've got to have achieved a minimum of 22 years service. You've got to have had your long service good conduct medal, which is probably where the regiment sort of falls short there, or you're not getting caught medal. And then you've got to have been the minimum rank of a warrant officer as well. Exactly. You don't get caught and you get given a medal for it. It's madness, absolute madness.
Crazy.
And you've got to have been a warrant officer as well. So before you can even start there, that's a lot of people ruled out. Yeah. So then sort of go to that, and it's essentially you're the King's ceremonial bodyguard, you're the keepers of the Tower of London, you sort of public interaction, you do a bit of tour guiding as well. And the coolest thing, because I'm still learning, and I'm on my probation period, so I get 6 months probation, and it's like the first thing you've got to learn is the ceremony of the keys, which is pretty cool. But it's so you can get put on duty straight away for an evening duty. So obviously we've got our own guard room that needs manning. It's the oldest manned guard room. It's been manned since the 1280s, and it's in the world, and it's so cool. Obviously there's 35 Beefeaters, so you roughly pick up one duty a month. And it's quite a cool place to be, and to be able to deliver the ceremony of the keys, which is such a special event in itself, especially while the poppies are here as well. We've got the poppies here. They're unfortunately being removed tomorrow night. They've been here for a while as one of the exhibits, and it's such a cool place. And like we said, imposter syndrome, I'm constantly pinching myself. It's just a complete far cry from the council estate I grew up on in Grimsby to now live in a royal palace and fortress. And it's pretty mad. But most people will associate Beefeaters with the gin, which is pretty cool. That's our red sort of state ceremonial dress, and that's actually my birthday's coming up. And every one of our birthdays we get a free bottle of gin from the Beefeater distillery, which is pretty cool, and a pretty cool Christmas dinner with a goodie bag as well. And then I forgot what I was going to say there. But you would have seen on Her Majesty, the late Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth at lying in state, there was one of the yeoman body on the corner, standing vigil by her side while she was lying in state. The King's coronation as well, they were marching behind the carriage. They've just done the Lord Mayor's show. There's loads of stuff like that. You essentially get where water can't, and it's mad. I found myself last week in the US Embassy, sort of Homeland Security, and I was in the bar the other week, and you sort of drinking with the pilots of Marine One and things like that. It's just absolutely mental. Like the people that you get to bump into and meet. And I suppose it's because we have actually got our own pub on site, and it's invite only. It's the most exclusive bar in London, so people actually want to come and get in there, and it's special. It's a really special place, and the pub is definitely my favourite part.
No surprises there.
Yeah.
But no, look, it's been an absolute pleasure for chatting to you, Foxy. Look, I just want to say, like, thank you for sharing, obviously, not one, your amazing career, and two, darker moments of that as well. It is a difficult thing to talk about. And, you know, for finishing off there and giving us an insight into a role that's not, certainly you're the first Parachute Regiment soldier to become a Beefeater, and just giving us, myself and the viewers, an insight into that transition and stuff. I really, really appreciate you taking the time for coming on, buddy.
No, thank you. And if I could just sort of leave with a couple of comments. I know you said they're the first Parachute Regiment Beefeater there, Yeoman Warder. I don't think I'm going to be the last. I genuinely don't. I hope more people now, and now it's out within the regimental circles now, I hope more people can apply. You don't have to still be serving. You could have been out 10, 15, 20 years. If you're an ex-warrant officer with your LSGC, then I know they're probably more rocking or shit than there is that. But if you want to come down, by all means, on the next iteration of jobs, please do. And also, just going back to the darker times, if anyone is struggling or anything like that, just speak to anyone. Pick up the phone, speak to anyone, speak to your mates, and check in on your mates as well. And something I always say is ask twice, because someone will say to me, no matter how I'm feeling, how are you doing? And I'll be like, living a dream. That's just my go-to answer. And then someone actually asked me a second time, no, how are you really doing? And I'm like, fuck, you got me. You've absolutely got me. I'm like, yeah, actually, I'm not fucking doing so great. And it's just that awareness and stuff like that. But you've got to take those steps to make things better for yourself. And I promise you, it does get better. It doesn't always completely go away. I've still, like I spoke to Bill, still harbour those feelings. But please, just don't be a statistic and hold your head up.
Absolutely great advice. Thank you very much, Foxy. And again, absolute pleasure chatting to you. Thank you so much. I wish you all the luck in your future endeavours and your future career. Please stay in touch. If I find myself in London, love to catch up with you. Maybe get a free tour of the Tower of London, see how we go. But no, absolute pleasure, buddy. Thank you very much, buddy.
Cheers, Chris. See you later, mate.